Yay! I think everything's working. I've had a quick look over on the Facebook page and, or should I say Facebook, what are they called? Facebook group, that's it. And over on the YouTube channel, it all looks like it's working. Hello, 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 hello. It's Monday the 20th, he said, looking at his clock because he had no idea what day it is. Basically, it's the same day that it was yesterday and 3 weeks from yesterday and so on. It's the exact same thing. Everybody's still in lockdown over where I live. 25th of May 2020, and this is the WP Builds weekly WordPress news. There's normally four of us, but and Paul Lacey's normally the fourth one, but he's had to pull out today for his own reasons, and so there's only three of us, but that'll be nice. I'm joined by, can I get it right? Yes. I'm joined by Anchen Roux and Bernhard Gronau. Oh, no, I've blown it. And Bernhard Gronau. We'll get them to introduce themselves one at a time, if that's all right. So first of all, Anchen, do you want to tell us who you are, where you are, and whatnot?
Hi, yes, Anchen Roux. I'm here in Pretoria, South Africa. And yeah, I'm the founder of Simply Digital Design. It's just a small website design and digital marketing studio.
Thank you very much. And Bernhard, tell us about yourself.
Well, as usual, helping out and promoting pods and having my own little company, doing a little bit of WordPressy work and educate. And how to say, sometimes it's more about educating people and structuring content and stuff like that, because that's the more funny part of it. I don't know, at least for me.
Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us. It's interesting the sort of backgrounds that we're displaying today, because I think it says a lot about you. Anchen, clearly musical. Bernhard, clearly astronomical. And Nathan,
that's not mine.
Nathan has a printer. I like printing. Oh, it's not yours, Bernhard. Oh, that's a disappointment.
No, it's not mine. No, sorry to disappoint you, but I have a good friend which got married today, and he has even built a little observatory here in Carinthia, because I'm in the south of Austria today, and he built with a friend together a real observatory, like on the mountain. He's very into it. It's his hobby, not professional, but it's his hobby, and
near to me in the national park, they have a couple of those little observatories on the top of a hill, and it's completely dark in every direction. It's wonderful. You can go out there once a month and look at the stars, and I'm always astonished by what you can see, even with a modest telescope, even with a small, reasonably cheap one. It's breathtaking what you can find. Anyway, we're not here to talk about astronomy. Just a quick set of hellos. Hi there, Chris. Thanks for joining us. Chris was on last week, but today he's in the audience. Good afternoon, Rick. Nice to see you. I hope your mug is on the way. It should be. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Good afternoon from Leo. Thanks, Leo. It says a knowledgeable lineup of people today. Can never quite tell whether Leo's being sarcastic or not. But let's assume he's not being. Heinrich, good afternoon. Oh yes, I just have a printer. That is a large telescope. We've just done that. Only Matt noticed I had a Kinster book in the. Oh, darnity darn! I should have made definite use of that. Let's just go through the usual stuff that we do at the beginning. We won't continue to do this forever, but I think at this point in time, it's still quite useful, especially given the fact that Bernhard is in a completely different part of the world where things are different. Things in the UK, in terms of lockdown and what have you, they continue to be the same. Essentially, we are allowed to go out for periods of longer exercise. There's less restrictions. You're allowed to go out and walk with one other person, so long as you stay apart. And unless of course you're called Dominic Cummings, in which case you can just do whatever you like, apparently. But not to be political, I'm going to ask Anchen. I've already put my foot in it, haven't I? What's it like in South Africa? Tell us.
Yeah, still pretty strict. We're only allowed between 6 and 9 in the mornings to go to walk, and very strict. No alcohol, no cigarettes. A lot of things are still. They did open e-commerce, which was closed in this level. They did open it in the last week or so because it just doesn't make sense to not have it open. And but from the 1st of June, we'll go to the next level, which would be a little less restrictive. So.
Do you have any insight into why e-commerce was closed? Was it just the principle that they didn't want people delivering things to people's front doors, or is there just no understanding?
No, they said it was unfair. They said it was unfair to those people, to retail stores. That was actually said.
That's a really interesting approach, isn't it? So, wow, that's fascinating. So everybody has to go down, like, how to describe it, the lowest common denominator is where you have to go to.
That's what was said. So we don't ask.
Interesting. But you hope that in a few, well, a week from now, things will be different.
From Monday, it will be a lot less restrictive. But like I've said, still cigarettes will still be not available. So
such an odd one. We were talking before about that and how it was very misunderstood how cigarettes became banned. You weren't allowed to purchase cigarettes of all things. That seems like one of the things to give people a lifeline, doesn't it? If they're going through the whole isolation thing, the idea of doing that with cigarette cravings as well is and Bernhard, tell us about this, because obviously you're free. Well, you've moved, which I still wouldn't be allowed to do. So things must have been made slightly different this week.
Yeah, I mean, for the one part, in the end, it was allowed to move within Austria. I mean, they didn't tell it, but they didn't really write a law prohibiting it. Mm-hmm. It's just all this fussy kind of thing. And yeah, it's going forward because, I mean, you can go into the restaurants again. I mean, only for people at the table, and the table should be at least, I think, 1 meter apart, but you can go. You can, up to 10 people can attend a marriage, and up to 30 can attend and how do you call it if they're dead? Funeral.
A funeral, yeah, funeral.
So yeah, step by step, we're going back to kind of normal, but you have still to wear the face masks everywhere, and but not if you're at the restaurant, because obviously how to eat them and stuff like that. So but yeah, and I think starting with June, starting with June, more fitness centers are allowed to open again, and mid of June we can travel to Germany again. So slowly getting there to kind of normal stuffy things to do.
We have, it's very difficult to penetrate what's going on in the UK. We're just not sure. So the guidance is that schools, primary schools for smaller children, could be open from the 1st of June, so basically next week. But there seems to be a great deal of debate about whether that's going to happen, whether the schools wish to open. So very much in flux here. Anyway, thank you for those little insights. That's great. But we're going to talk about WordPress a little bit, cover some topics off that I covered in the WordPress Weekly News. Just before that, though, this is our webpage, wpbuilds.com. What to say, really? That's it. That's the homepage. We've got a subscribe form over here. This will alert you. This grey one will alert you if you want to keep up to date with kind of stuff that we produce, content that we produce. And this one will alert you if we find out about a deal. I used that one this morning to publish a WeDevs deal, 55% off some WeDev stuff. Then you got things like the Facebook group and podcast players and things like that. So go check that out. I don't want to show that one, but we'll go to this one. The archives page is here. This is the news archive. And the top left one every single week is what we're talking about this week. And it looks like this. So it was number 115. It wasn't a particularly fast news week. There wasn't a great deal going on, but we'll go through it and concentrate on the ones which we think are of most interest. Always divide it up into different sections. WordPress Core is the first one, and awful lot this week coming from WordPress Tavern, as always, but perhaps even a little bit more than usual. First one is Justin Tadlock. Justin writes this week about Gutenberg 8.1, includes block copying, testimonial patterns, and UI update. Actually, there is quite a bit of interest in here, for me at least anyway. I've really embraced the block editor. This week I started playing with, going off topic a little bit, I started playing with Generate Blocks from Tom Osborne, which is it's a simple suite of, I think, 5 blocks, which enable you to do things like grids and buttons and really, really complicated layouts in the block editor. It's completely free, and it really has made me think about whether or not page builders are going to be in the future for me or not, because it kind of achieves huge amount of what I would need to build a very straightforward, simple WordPress website. So that being said, a few little teething problems. Up until now, you couldn't really copy a block very easily. You could duplicate it, but then moving it and all of that was very difficult. With the new version of Gutenberg 8.1.0, you'll be able to copy it. Let me see if I can see it. Yeah, here we go. You copy it, and then you can just do the sort of the keyboard shortcut and paste it wherever you want it to go. So at the moment, it just simply duplicates it beneath where it previously was, and then you have to drag it around, which can be really difficult. But now you can just paste it wherever you'd like it to be. But the other one of most interest to me was this bit. Oh, no, where's it gone? Where's it gone? Testimonials, that's it there. Is this new testimonials pattern. Block patterns is, how to describe it? Imagine a page builder like Beaver Builder or an Elementor, and you buy these third-party modules which you can add in. So, for example, a testimonials module. And the intention is that it brings together a layout and some meta fields to fill out. Like in this case, you've got some text and you've got a couple of images and a name field. And you basically click a button, drag it into position, and it's ready to go. You just need to amend it to look how you want it to do. Well, this is the 8th such thing in Gutenberg. And although it's really plain, you can see that now these kind of page builder features are starting to come in. So that was the second piece that I wanted to mention from there. And I'm going to hand it back to you guys if you thought there was anything of interest in here.
I mean, it's interesting how all those evolves, and I think it will get a mess before it gets better, because if you have dozens of different patterns and all is mixed up, and then which exposure to the customer, and this plugin adds a pattern, and this plugin adds a pattern. So it's kind of feels still like the wild west with Gutenberg. So nobody really knows where it goes. And for me, it's still the important part, because you say it replaces page builders for one part, yes, but for that kind of type of pages I tend to build, it's more about this blueprint stuff, like Beaver Themer, not the builder, but the Themer component, or like you have this themer or theme component with Elementor, where you have content which is structured and you have to display it always the same way, but with different content. And this part is still not really in any way relevant for Gutenberg or all the post modules to list posts. And so it's kind of lacking many stuff for me to move over. It's great for single pages, like we discussed last time, like to build a new kind of style site. It's great. But for the rest, I'm not really sure how it fits in all those advanced use cases of WordPress.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling, though, that these 8 block patterns, which we've got at the moment, I can't seem to bring into my attention what the first 7 were, and this is the 8th of them. I think they're really just like I don't know what the word for this is. They're just demonstrating what's possible, should we say. It's just like a shop window for here's how it might look in the future. This is how we're proposing it will look, and so on. Yeah. Like
the templates in Beaver Builder, where you can load a saved row or load a saved page or load whatever, or like Astra Sites does. Give me a template for the whole site, and they go and fake it afterwards.
Yep. Anchen, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I know I bring it up every time, but that's because it's the only real thing I have with Gutenberg is creating the WordCamp sites, because there's no page builder. Something like this would make a big difference, having more patterns and things, because when we create WordCamp, it's everything needs to be done in CSS still to style and stuff. So now I'm technically for client websites, I just use it for blog posts, so that won't be needed. But yeah, I'm always thinking of that.
Yep. I just sort of feel that I can't imagine a future without this stuff in it, though. What I mean by that is I just can't see a year from now that we won't have loads of these block patterns in use. I mean, hundreds, possibly thousands. It just seems like a complete no-brainer. The idea that you can just click on this little blue button, select, and in the future download the ones that you need at that particular moment. And then there was obviously talk over the last few weeks of disabling all the ones that you don't need on the website, so that you don't, in the case of page builders, and the modules that come with them, the third-party modules, you can often have a bit of bloat and not really know which ones you need to keep on and which ones are not being used on the site and so on. So just interesting, nice.
Yeah, I love the generate blocks approach of that stuff, because it's really the very basic blocks, and then just assemble it, throw it together. It looks like the better way to do it, maybe.
Yeah. I should say that I played with it for I watched a Mike Oliver video going back to February. He made a video. He's employed by Generate Press or Generate Blocks, or whatever the overarching company Tom Osborne is. And so he threw this video together, and I just basically copied it. I thought, oh, well, I'll just see if I can just replicate that in a few minutes. And man, it took seconds, and you were away to the races. Everything's so neatly laid out. Everything held inside a container, and if you isolate the container, you can then affect the padding, and then you can, you go onto the inside areas, and so something like putting this together, this testimonials thing, would take seconds, literally seconds. So yeah, you're right. I think the approach is really good. So I would urge anybody who hasn't done it. Let me just see if I can put the generate generate blocks. I think it is worth looking. Site is unreachable. No, that's because I've got a local install which was trying to reach out to, but I've switched it all off. There we go. That's the one. Generateblocks.com. This is it. You can watch the little video here. But if you Google Generate Blocks Mike Oliver, I think the video is about 30 minutes, maybe a bit less, and it really does cover absolutely everything to build out a dead simple, simple page.
Chris, via Facebook, raises a valid point that we all wonder which plugins will survive and which will be the ones we use, and like you build a site on it and then they stop it because Gutenberg builds stuff into itself and all that kind of thing. And the other thing is, where I'm still not sure, is what is about all that responsive editing, because Gutenberg, I don't see really good options to work with it that way. I mean,
yeah, the generate blocks has 3 responsive layouts. So it's got desktop. So imagine in the right hand column where you fiddle with your and so you got desktop, mobile, and tablet, and that's what it comes out the box with. And I tried that, and it works, and it was really easy. Essentially, if you don't set something lower down, so if you don't set mobile but you set tablet, mobile will inherit from tablet, and so it goes. And it was trivial, really easy, and in fact everything.
It's funny how the most page builders work with desktop first and not mobile first, because everything trickles down and not up. I mean, it's like the industry goes, do mobile first. The rest of the world does or WordPress does desktop first and trickle down.
I suppose that comes from the nature of trying to imagine a layout going backwards with a page builder. You've kind of got to build it as it looks, haven't you? You've got to. There's what we want it to look like on a desktop, and now we'll do all the styles and what have you going down. Anyway, completely off tangent, but this is so worth checking out. Honestly, go and give it a look, and particularly that Mike Oliver video. It's so good, and you'll be away to the races. I'm sure you will. Okay, let's just put the next one up. So the next one is, I don't know that this is going to be of great interest, so we'll just flick through it very quickly. But if you're a theme developer, this probably will be hugely important to you. You can now check your PHP version against, no, that's the wrong way to describe it. If you are a theme developer and you wish to set a minimum PHP version for your plugin, let's say for your theme, let's say that you've, I don't know, some aspect of PHP 7 that you require. Prior to this, that was not possible. You just had to basically go for the lowest common denominator, PHP 5 point something. Well, now on the WordPress repo, let's see if we can find an example. I'm sure there was a picture somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Right at the bottom here, you can see it. You can now say requires PHP version something. And this just seems to make perfect sense as a theme. I don't know why theme developers haven't had this when plugin developers have had it for ages, but now you can. So we've got a few people in our community who do in fact make themes, and it, might be good for them. to have that capability. I don't suppose either of you are going to want to dwell on that too much, but I could be wrong. No.
I think just from a user point, it's actually really good as well, because you could never know if it's going to work. So you would install and then So I think because they say they don't actually allow you to activate it now if it doesn't.
Yes, that was a thing which I completely forgot to say. So so if you try to download something which has an PHP version higher than you are actually currently running, then it just simply won't install. Maybe this will be the kick in the backside that some of the cheaper hosting companies need. An outcry from people saying, but I want to use this particular theme and it won't work now, as opposed to I want to use it and it's completely broken all over the place. What's going wrong? Okay, so there we go. Nice. Right, the community section comes next. Very, very, of almost no interest whatsoever to anybody, but the theme review team has changed its name to the theme team. I don't know anybody who's actually involved in this team who's on it, but I think the idea was that they were feeling that they couldn't encourage people to join the team because everybody thought it was just about reviewing themes, which is not, in fact, the case. There's all this sort of stuff. They work on the latest theme, 2020 in this case, coding standards, meta stuff, reviews, helping out with full site editing capacity, and so on and so forth. So there's way more to it. So they decided to change their name. And so if that suddenly makes you think, I could actually lend a hand because I'm not interested in reviewing, go and sign up. Anybody, or shall I just move on?
Move on. I mean, Justin Tadlock is on the team, so maybe you know one of them.
There you go. There's one. I know one. This is nice. We've mentioned a couple of times in the past that, Big Orange Heart is now the new name for WP and Up. WP and Up was a charity founded to help people in the WordPress space to get some help should they need it. Well, they've pivoted slightly and they're now Big Orange Heart. The focus is still very much on WordPress, but also just remote work in general. And they've launched a little shop. And the idea with this is if you want to donate, but you would like to receive something as well as donating at the same time. So rather than give them $20 or $50, you would like to give them some money and also get something in return. Well, now you can. They've got the whole array of things, Big Orange Heart caps, mugs, stickers, the usual kind of stuff. And I'm going to show you a little bit later a completely copied version of that site, which does exactly the same thing, but for the same cause. So anyway, I'm going to urge everybody, if you've got $20 sitting around in your back pocket, wanting to do some good, firstly, go and give it to Big Orange Heart because they get way more of it that way. But if you want a product in return, go to shop.bigorangeheart.org and pick up some swag with Big Orange Heart in it. And when you come on live streams like this, you can hold it up and feel less embarrassed than holding up the periodic table of the elements, which is what I've currently got. Right. Okie dokie. Next one is this WordCamp Kent. Now, the reason I picked this one out of all the things is that WordCamp Kent, just like every other WordCamp in the universe this year, is going offline, or sorry, should I say online. The real world event has been mothballed. But quite interestingly, they're going for a different approach. Rather than having like a big development approach and lots of developer stuff, they're going for kind of marketing. So it's going to be all about business and marketing tracks. Now, I'm not 100% sure if they won't sneak in the odd little developer thing here and there, but it's available for free. So if you're into marketing and you're into running a WordPress business successfully, it's happening at the end of this week. Where are we at now? The 25th of May. So yeah, this coming weekend, completely free. I don't know if they've got a cap on it like WordCamp Europe, I think, did. But if you're a freelancer, as I say, if you're a freelancer, run an agency or have a WordPress product business, you might find their program more tailored to improve your client services. So I'm going to click that ticket button when this is over and get myself signed up just to see what's on the cards. Do you attend these kind of events, you two? Do you actually get yourself involved in online events now that you've been unable to do real world ones?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have been to the VP feedback and was more in the hallway track, like the chit channel they had, skimming over the sessions. Sometimes it's a good thing to have online, like speed up 2 times. Oh, it's interesting. No, let him talk in the background. Oh, that's an interesting part. Slow down. So sometimes it's even better than the live sessions, because you can skip over stuff you're not interested. Oh, okay, I know that, or maybe it's not my kind of way to do it. Then you can think, and you can have the discussion anyway in the other channels. But then it's a different thing of meeting people in person, or get to meet people you didn't expect to meet, which is far more likely to happen in a real world conference. So it's both.
Yeah, it is. I confess, I really miss I'm now starting to get that sort of like cabin fever a little bit. I've been able to really, quite surprisingly, I think we've all found ourselves being able to manage a certain amount of this lockdown without it really getting in the way of our lives. Very lucky, all of us in the industry we work in. But I confess that I'm kind of starting to feel a little bit stir crazy now, and so for things like this, I really need more of them. I want there to be more of these events put on, because I'm missing chatting to these people. And it's not as good as the real thing. It's a heck of a lot more convenient, like you said, Bernhard. You can just be sat in your room, and when you suddenly detect something in your headphone, that sounds interesting, you can flick in, as opposed to, if you go to a real world event, you don't really have that. You certainly can't attend a real world event in your pajamas.
Yeah, but then in the real world event, I remember our conversations in Berlin, which is kind of different, like sitting at a bar and people coming and going and making jokes. It's those kind of informal stuff. Yeah, you can have your beer besides you, but who gets drunk? Well, let's not say drunk, but who gets a little bit too much maybe on a call? I can't imagine that. Well, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I think when you're at home, you're more likely to just switch the camera off for a moment. And Anchen, you've run these events in the past. Have you found them to be, do people engage with them, in your opinion, in the same way? Do you find that people are actually into it? They turn up, they really listen, they pay attention, and so on?
Yeah, it depends. You really need to work on that. So you need to work on that engagement. I think the WP feedback did a really great job with the hallway tracks and the networking. So yeah, definitely something that you need to do. And you need to encourage them to, because, it's not like a live event where we're there and so you have to go. So, but yeah, it's like I said, the networking is still the most important thing for me from this event. So having that is really important.
I saw some really interesting applications this week. I was out looking for them for a particular reason, and it would appear that there's a couple of SaaS apps which they've absolutely, there's no way that they built them during the COVID-19 episode. These were SaaS apps which had been in mostly full maturity, but for some reason haven't gathered enough interest. And I think they'll be really interesting going forward. I believe one of them was called Remo, REMO. And what they do is they set up the conference and they present a conference room. It's a flat, imagine you're looking from the ceiling straight down, and there's the tables with the chairs, and your icon, your face, whatever your little avatar is, you position it at a table. And then you are allowed to talk to the 3 people who are also at that table. But then you can also, if you want, position if all 4 seats are occupied, you can position yourself in the periphery of the table, and you can watch what's happening on the table, which is kind of like the real world. There's lots of people who just sort of come and loiter and see who's talking and saying what. But then also, you can pick yourself up and drag yourself to another table. And then the event organizer can just sort of like cut everybody off and say things like, we're about to start in 3 minutes, whatever. And then hopefully everybody's attention is drawn towards the main stage. But then you've also got advertising booths dotted around the event. So you've got all the tables in the middle, the advertising booths around the edge, and you can go and talk to the advertisers. So very much a kind of trying to absolutely mimic a real world event. And it kind of reminded me of how Apple, do you remember it back in the day, every Apple logo for all of their products and all of their UI tried to mimic something real, like the calendar tried to look like a notebook with stitching in the top and all of that kind of stuff. And this is that, you know, they're trying to make people engage, and the only way that they can engage is through something that they're familiar with already, which is tables, chairs, a stage, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So keep your eyes. We need VR helmets for that.
Yeah, just read it.
Says Sabrina.
Yeah, I mean,
so
that's the next step. That's the next step. Like,
let me just
have.
Go on, you carry on. Sorry.
No, just.
I was just going to see if I could Google it and put it up on the stage.
Apple.
Yeah, hold on. Here we go. Oh, I've taken my screen share away. There we go. Application window. That one. Yeah. This is it. Let me just get rid of that chat thing. So yeah, let me see if I can. Guided tours, help center, about us, guided tours. Maybe that's it. No, not really. That doesn't help at all, does it? It's a blow. But the picture there on the homepage gives you some indication of how it works. There's your little, there's your area that you can hang out in, and there's the 4 icons around the table, and there's obviously a table next to it and another table, and then right at the edges of that whole layout is the main event, you know, the stage, all that kind of stuff, and the advertising. So anyway, there you go. That's interesting. Right, let's move on. This has captured my attention big time this week. I don't know if any of you saw this. I really like the look of this. This is from Rich Tabor and Jeffrey Carandang. Jeffrey behind so many cool Gothenburg-based projects recently, and Rich with a string of successes going right back into history. And this is a beautiful, simplistic little editor. Essentially, what you see in that black box is what you get. So imagine going to a WordPress post, and that's all you see is just that black box. You've got kind of minimal options, which I'll display here. You know, you can change the kind of the colors so that it looks like that. You can add markdown, and then very modest little capability to alter things like line height, text color, font, and so on. But that's what you get, just something like this. And when I write this post, that's all I need. Is I need something super distraction free. And I know the WordPress thing, the WordPress Gutenberg editor goes full screen now. It's still not as cool as that, which I just think looks really, really lovely. And
you can use Markdown.
Yeah, Markdown was one of the features they were. Yeah, use sophisticated formatting for all your pros of the editor. Yeah, Markdown is possible. Would appear that they're touting it at $49. I don't know if there's a free version, but I just like it. I'm really drawn to things like this. I am so good at getting distracted. It's
in the range of your typical AppSumo deal, so just get it. I mean, get over with it and be done.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then find some other way to do it. Yeah, look, Sabrina's saying that was what I expected Gutenberg to be when it was announced. Yeah, back in the day, super stripped down, and it really is. No capability to add, you know, all sorts of whiz bang features. Just dead simple. So go check it out. Another one which is almost identical. I don't know if you saw, but in the post there was this thing called AI Writer. I've not played with this, but AI Writer is this is mentioned on WP Tavern again, Sarah Gooding. AI Writer is a Mac and iOS app which basically does exactly the same thing. And then in some clever way, I'm not sure how the syncing works, you can it looks like it's OAuth by the looks of it down here. There's some connection with your WordPress website. You can click a publish button and everything just goes straight up into the cloud. Have to say, given the two of them, I think I'd pick the WordPress one just because it's bolted into WordPress. But you know, the stuff that you can do with the Mac, the animations and so on might be quite nice. But any thoughts on that, Anchen?
Yeah, I like the other one more. I don't like creating inside WordPress, so I always, so something that's got like a really nice writer and then can be published. I think I'd like more.
That's interesting. What, you purposefully choose to write outside of WordPress where possible?
Yeah.
How does that look? What are you using?
Well, normally just a Google Doc and then just copy pasting. The thing is, I share with an editor, and so it goes a long way before it actually goes into WordPress. And I don't do like the editor goes into WordPress as well and things like that. So yeah.
The intention I believe it's round 4 of Gutenberg is to have concurrent editing. So that whole thing about that. I remember the day. It's going to sound so sad. I remember the day when the first time somebody was editing a Google Doc at the same time as I was, and I could see them deleting things and typing things in. And this was from an era where, prior to that, you'd save something in Microsoft Word, email it, they'd get it, they'd do it and edit it and send it back with some comments. And it was all a bit of a drag. And I remember the first time seeing that, thinking, oh, this is so good. And of course, you can't do that in WordPress at the minute. But have you heard of? There's a service, it's a SaaS platform, and I'm going to say it's called Wordable, but I could be completely wrong, Anchen. Wordable, you link it to there's a WordPress plugin. You link it to your Google account. And then when you go into the plugin, it lists every Google Doc that you've created. You can organize it by most, and then you just click a button and it just sucks it in, including all the formatting and everything. Yeah, so it tries to get the H1s where they should be, and tables and all that kind of stuff. It tries to get it right.
Yeah, I don't like all those.
No.
Like you always get this messy inline code kind of stuff. I mean, not sure about that thing. I didn't test it, but I always tell the people, don't copy styling, just the text, and then go quickly at the headings and all that stuff, because
I think once span. Maybe. Well, I think that was the whole premise of this Wordable SaaS app, is that it would take care of that, and it tried very hard to just bring across exactly what was needed. So yeah, I'll when we finish this call, I'll show you around, because I'm sure I've got a copy of it lying around somewhere. Anchen, you might like it. Okay, so that was those. Next one up was this, just an interesting thing. I don't really know anything about WebP images. I just kind of know that they exist. I know that they are smaller in size, but I don't really have any understanding of why you might use it above and beyond that. What are the benefits and what have you. So I liked this article. Tom Rankin writes a lot of good stuff over at the talkmag.io website. And it's exactly that. It's an article explaining what they are, how they work, what the compression saving is. And I bet Sabrina, who's listening to this, will be yelling at me, yo, it's so obvious, they do this and they do that, because that's her thing, is to speed up websites. So this was just a nice little primer into why you might like to use WebP images. I confess, I don't think I've used a WebP image in my life. So
every optimizing plugin, if you don't do it yourself while uploading, does it for you.
Yeah.
And most of them do it additionally for free, because images are smaller, and they even add a way to automatically add them, so that you have both on your server, WebP and a JPEG or PNG or whatever, and the client can decide which one he can render. So it's very easy to implement it, and even some caching plugins recognize it. It's great. So.
Yeah, the obvious drawback, I suppose, of WebP, and one of the things that this article goes at pains to point out, is that there are a few browsers, I don't know which ones, that simply don't allow you to display WebP images. So you need some kind of fallback technology. And down here, right at the bottom, is a free plugin on the WordPress repository called WebP Express, which will allow that functionality to exist. So let's say that you want your WebP image to be served up. It's the smallest, it's the most optimized, but for some reason, somebody is on a browser which doesn't support it. It can draw them to a PNG or a JPEG. By the way, how do you all say PNG? Do you say ping or PNG or something else entirely?
In English, PNG.
Okay, yeah, PNG. Good. No, I've just heard so many variations. of it that I was never quite sure if I got it right, but PNG it is. Anyway, there you go. Quite a nice little plugin, nice little free article. And this one goes to the thing that you were talking about earlier, full site editing. This is from the sublimely cool Carrie Dills, who's been around for such a length of time. You know, really like everything that she does. She was a real advocate for Genesis back in the day. And she's talking about what full site editing is. So if you've still got any doubts as to whether WordPress is bringing it along, you can go and check this article out. I won't go into it, but just to say, you know, if there's any aspect of it, you'll need to learn this stuff if you have any pretensions. I think it's going to bring making themes within the remit of a lot more of us. And so having this little primer was quite nice. Okay. Where next? WordPress. I don't think I'm going to dwell on this for long, but you can now, I don't really have a team that I work with. Essentially, it's just me writing. But if you were to work with a team like Anchen does, clearly, there's two of you, the idea of putting together a policy whereby posts cannot be published until X, Y, Z is achieved. So, I don't know, it's got a featured image. It has at least 1,000 words. It's got an excerpt. You just make it up, and Publish Press will allow that to happen, along with a whole bunch of other things like calendarizing things. But they've never allowed until this point for you to be like the Godfather and say, I don't want to put an excerpt in because I'm the administrator. No. I just want to publish it. So now you can do that. You can sort of say, okay, if I'm the administrator, I don't have to do excerpts. I don't have to do whatever. You know, you can it's just a little bit more power. And I just thought that was quite nice. You can just see somebody abusing this horribly, just demonstrating their power in their editorial team. No image on my post. So that's quite interesting. WP Security Audit Log has been renamed to WP Activity Log. Nothing to add there, really. But this one, I think we'll all be amazed. Well, maybe you won't be amazed. It's been coming on the cards for the longest period of time. 5 million active installs. This is Elementor, of course. 5 million active installs. I don't know.
I always wonder how many paying customers they really have.
Right. Yeah, that was going to be my next sentence. Pro versus... Well, it's got to be less pro than more pro, right? It's just got to be.
Yeah, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know, but the milestone is pretty amazing. In fact, if you put it, just to put it into context, this line kind of spells it out. Only 3 other plugins or developers have actually reached this number. Now, sorry for mashing your name. Takayuki Miyoshi. Now, I could be wrong about this, but is this contact form 7?
Maybe, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
Somebody go and look that one up quickly. One of you. I'm going to say that's contact form 7. I'm just guessing. Yoast, obviously, with its free version. And Automatic, I'm guessing that's Jetpack?
Yeah, Jetpack and maybe others. I mean, they have many under the umbrella now. Yeah.
Okay, so they're the only 3 who have got this milestone. And it looks to me like, if you look at this graph here, it looks to me like that there's just no hint of it slowing down. You know, it looks like every increment the curve is getting steeper. It's not like it's not even becoming like X equals Y. It's just always getting greater. And the period of time since we were talking about this being 2 million installs seems like a heartbeat away. You know, 2 million installs was what, 18 months ago.
You put a lot of money into marketing, and they do. I mean, look at their content, look at their things they are putting out. You have an ecosystem around it, at least partly, and you have a free offering which offers most of their stuff anyway. So why not use it? I mean, like Contact Form 7, which was the simplest form plugin since ages, and evolved into that. And you're right, here's the Contact Form 7 author. I just check.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
So it's easy go there, I guess, because what's the competition? Beaver Builder's free offering is just a teaser, to be honest. I mean, with the next update, it will be better. They're adding some features.
They are.
And what else? And what else is there? I mean, there's no. I mean, Breezy has a free offering too, I think, but I never tested it. The rest on page builders, most of them are paid or very basic. So, well, I mean, there's a real competition, and if you factor in that many pro and like many educational courses are there using Elementor because it's easier and it makes it very easy for designers. I mean,
yeah,
one.
the interesting, although that graph is breathtaking, it's actually these.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Oh, look, there they go, doing the marketing right at me, covering up the content. This was the stuff which really caught my attention. Check this out. Let's all just assume that they're telling us something verifiable and truthful, right? Elementor accounts for 7% overall installed WordPress websites. So they're closing in pretty fast on 1 in 10 WordPress websites being built on Elementor. Again, let's just assume that that's entirely provable. That is amazing. And then this one is also amazing. Elementor introduces 30% of its users to WordPress. And I had to kind of figure out what that meant for a bit. And then I figured, okay, so let's say that they take on 1,000 new customers this week. 300 of them will never have used WordPress before. So they are becoming a complete gateway drug for WordPress. You know, the people are discovering WordPress with Elementor, and I'm presuming that's either through paid channels. I mean, I am seeing so many Elementor ads in my Facebook feed.
Yeah.
It goes in cycles, but right now, if I scroll like for 1 minute, you know, if I just read and scroll and I'm reading and scrolling, I'll get at least 2 of their adverts. And right now it's the forms one. It's all about their Elementor forms. It just comes up again and again and again. But the fact that it's not the other way around 100% of the time, to me, is really interesting. That 30% of their new customers have never seen WordPress before. And you know, essentially they're finding out what? And it's built on top of what? Which I just think is amazing. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Well, first I would like to know on how many sites Visual Composer / WP Bakery runs. I mean, that's like on many sites I encounter with people who have no idea and have just someone build it, at least the older ones, like, oh, WP Bakery. Oh, I know that. Oh, let's get rid of it. And then it's impressive. And it shows why Gutenberg was built, because people need sort of kind of stuff like that because it's easier. So it's interesting where we'll go from there and what happens, because I mean, so let's talk about supporting 5 million active users.
Oof.
Let's talk about yes, you see, it's not. I mean, okay, they got funding, they got venture capital, but they at one point they need to make money out of it.
Yeah.
And then combine it with even VP Elevation recommending Elementor and other stuff. So it's interesting. I'm not sure what to make really out of it. I did test it. I did try it. I didn't like it. But yeah, maybe I was too much Beaver Builder, whatever, indoctrine.
Yeah. Indoctrinate a little bit. It's amazing though. I can foresee a time where, in the same way that I don't use the word vacuum cleaner when I'm vacuuming my house, I use the word Hoover. That's just the word which everybody in the UK uses. It's just become the way of doing it. I've heard people at little local networking events talk about their WordPress. They don't use the word website. They use the word WordPress. And I can see that kind of becoming a bit of a thing, you know, oh, my Elementor website or whatever. It's just the way that websites are built. There's a lot of competition coming down the pipe, though, from things like Webflow, I feel. Things like Webflow is like the new cool kid on the block. And so we'll see. Clearly, a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever it'll be, we're going to have a SaaS version of Elementor, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
And
I
if
mean, they're building forms now. So
Yeah.
you have the forms, you have the building. That's not far, just self-hosted full version. Maybe they go and compete against Wix or other stuff and have both like hosted
Yep.
and self-hosted
Yep.
stuff,
Yep.
like kind of.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way WordPress went. So maybe we got like the .org and .com situation. I don't know. Many ways that could go. It's interesting, and it's great. Especially, I don't know how they crunch numbers, like 30% of the users are first-time WordPress users. But if it's true, it's great because it helps people to do stuff, maybe to start out, because at first, who has the money to get a website professionally built? I mean, we all hope it because it's our job or our money or helping people out. But if they start out and then you can build on it, I rather much prefer it's built with Elementor than many other tools that are out there and exist and are still used.
Yeah, it's interesting. Over the last few, well, let's say 6 months, I've taken on a couple of fairly modest projects, and both of them came to me from frustration within Wix. Both customers were like, I've built this thing in Wix, I just hate it. I thought it was all right, and then I looked at it objectively, and it was like, oh, it's interesting actually. Maybe Wix can become a conduit for people who kind of know what they're doing. The idea, the lovely idea that hand us $29 a month or whatever it is, and you'll just be able to do it, and it'll look great. Yeah, it's easy to mess that up and make it look really horrible.
And then all people forget they don't build the sites for themselves. They build it for their customers, and that's even harder to explain to some people. There's a reason why we do it that way, but make the logo bigger. We all know it. I mean,
yeah, make it pop. It just needs to pop. A couple of nice comments coming in. Oh, first of all, thank you, Chris, who said yes. Contact form 7. Oh, this is okay. Sorry, little addendum in that case. Leo says that WordCamp Kent has sold out of tickets. I did actually look last weekend. I didn't click the button, but I looked to see if they were still available, and they were. So I shall not be going and getting a ticket for WordCamp Kent once this is over. So back to the Elementor discussion. Lots of free themes offer Elementor free. Yeah, I was talking to the people from 10Web, which is a kind of hybrid hosting company, website building tool. It feels like they're trying to be Squarespace a bit, but with WordPress. They built everything on top of free Elementor. So there's definitely people, doing exactly that. Peter says, and then there are all the people who respond to with install Elementor to any WordPress question. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you don't know what to do, install Elementor. It'll make it painless. We'll see what the mileage is with that. So many YouTube adverts. Actually, it's not on YouTube for me. I don't really see their YouTube adverts. It's Facebook. I just get the Facebook ads. And man, do I get a lot of those. Duda, I never get those. This is for the Facebook algorithm in working live, isn't it? I get Elementor, Webflow, and then a couple of other things that you don't want to know about that are just so, unbelievable. Clicked on them past, and obviously they've pinned me down as like a guy that lives locally who wants to get local bread products and things like that. I don't like Elementor, says Heinrich. I also feel a bit of an idiot for not using it. That's a right trap, isn't it? Don't like it, feel an idiot because I don't use it.
I don't know what he uses instead of it. I mean,
I think, Heinrich, are you a Beaver Builder user? I confess I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. Anyway, just ridiculous amounts of attention being given to Elementor. 30% of all their new customers have never used WordPress before. Quickly moving on, BodyPress 6.0 has got a new groups and members block. So if you're using BodyPress, and actually I know that a lot of these summits that have been out lately. So for example, the one that WP Feedback did recently, as well as I'm going to say Lee's ATL one might have used BodyPress, but I could be wrong. Apologies, Lee, if I've got that wrong. But I know that Vito and Jan did use it. There's an update anyway. You can use the block editor to put in groups and member blocks now, which is quite nice. Speaking of Elementor, a couple of bits of security news. Well, only one bit recent, really. This is a lovely piece by Chloe Chamberlain, where it's a 10-minute read, 15-minute read, where she goes through exactly how the recent Elementor ultimate add-ons for Elementor, what's the right word for this, vulnerability was exploited. And I just find this stuff genuinely interesting. It's like a detective story. You know, you see how one thing leads to another thing, and then that thing slightly cracks open something else where you can get your teeth into and prise it apart, and then all sorts of fun happens. So it was just a nice little write-up saying how all that occurred. Ah, there you go. Heinrich is an oxygen user. Heinrich, I want to know more about that, because I've opened it on a number of occasions, and for reasons unknown, I've never got past just the basic building of a page. I've never used it in anger, as it were. So I'd be really interested to talk about that one time. So, in a blatant rip-off of the the Big Orange Heart store, I decided that I would do exactly the same thing, only instead of, let's say, for example, you don't want a mug with Big Orange Hearts logo on it, which, of course, you'd be mad not to want. But let's say, for example, that you wanted a WP Bills logo on it, or you want a T-shirt with a WP Bills logo, or a cap. What else did we put in? We put in beanies and hoodies and so on. The reason I'm saying this is purely that if you were to buy anything off this, right, we're going to give all the money that we make to Big Orange Heart. So if you buy a cap, there's literally no incentive in it for me. It's all the money is going to Big Orange Heart. So if you don't want their logo, but you'd like ours, I've bought myself. What have I bought? What have I bought? I bought a T-shirt. That's it. I bought a T-shirt, and I'm going to send my own profit to Big Orange Heart for buying my own T-shirt, which is ridiculous. By the way, you can set this up in about, honestly, an hour. I used a Matt Medeiros video. I'm using Printful for the distribution and printing, and WooCommerce and PayPal, and it takes about 6 minutes to set it all up. You throw in an API key into WooCommerce's Printful plugin, and you're off to the races. That's it. It's so quick and easy. So yeah, there you go. So what are you going to buy, Anchen? Which of these products am I going to see you in next time?
I just thought it will be a requirement to be on the show to have at least one of his.
We need Paul Lacey to come on next week with a hat. He's always wearing hats. But yeah.
I like the cups. I also always buy cups.
Oh no, please, only if you can. But anyway, there you are. They're all off Printful. You just throw a logo at the website and it just makes all these images. It's so clever, so cool. But it was a very modest thing that I could do, and I've had a couple of sales, and we'll be able to send a few quid over to Big Orange Heart. So that's nice. Thank you for those of you that bought it. We did a podcast this week. It was talking about WooCommerce and how much I dislike e-commerce and how much David really likes it. So you can go and check that out. And then what else have we got for you? We have some deals, which I didn't mention. This is the link to the deals page. I think, no, it isn't. That's the link to the deals page over there. You can go and check out sort of searchable, filterable list of WordPress deals. We've got loads. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. These never go away. For reasons unexplained, these theme and product authors have given these codes to me forever, as far as I can work out. They've never, ever said, no, it must stop at some particular date. So all of these things you can get off, like, amazing. Very grateful. Thank you to those people who did that. Anyway, that was that. This Amelia plugin came on AppSumo this week. It's a booking plugin. The rest of it is just a rehash of things that have been in previous weeks. What else have we got? Oh, let's go to the not WordPressy stuff. I'm quite excited about this. I'm in an incognito window at the moment. You can probably tell because the UI of Chrome is all black. But if you were to open up my regular Chrome window, these tiny little tabs at the top, and there's as many as I can get on my screen, put it that way. And then they get all gathered up at the end. In other words, I've got this terrible habit of not bookmarking stuff. If I want something for later, I just open another tab and just keep it there, which is a terrible way of curating things.
You are not alone. You are not alone.
Anchen, are you guilty of this?
Very much.
I've tried all sorts of clever ways of doing it. Like I've got this Chrome plugin called One Tab, but I just never click the One Tab button.
No.
Just don't say. I mean, it would solve the problem flat out, but I never click the button. So we have this problem. But Google, they're on it. They've totally nailed it. This is so good. This is going to save me so much time. So what you do is you hang on. There's a little animated GIF somewhere. Here we go. No, is it this? Not that one. There's a much better one somewhere. Can't find it. Basically, you can create little themed collections of tabs. So, for example, you name it work, and everything that's to do with work, you shove into that one tab, if you like, and then you give it a color, give it a name. And so you can see here, they've called it best friend for meetings unknown, for reasons unknown. Anything purple is that. And it collects them all for you. So I just think this is lovely. Really nice. I'm going to be making use of this as soon as it comes out. And of course, at some point in the near future, even this won't be enough. All I'll have is just like a string of colors spread out across the browser instead. You're going to...
Well, from time to time, you need to go through all the tabs and close them that are no longer needed.
I know.
I always do that once or twice a month, like that. It feels.
I thought you were going to say annually.
So then just quickly closing stuff which already has gone. It's no more long important, or just watching this quick video. Oh no, it doesn't interest me, and shove it away.
The bookmarks is perfect, though, isn't it? Why don't I make use of bookmarks? And I've also got Evernote's Web Clipper, which, you click a button and you can give it a tag, and there it'll be forever and ever more. But I don't know.
I have notes and stuff like that, but I end up Googling and not looking into my notes. So it's kind of...
Well, it probably slows your computer down a lot as well, doesn't it? I've even got a Chrome extension. The idea, and what's it called? I can't remember. But it freezes every non-active Chrome tab. After like a minute of inactivity, it shuts it. The Great Suspender is what it's called. And if a tab hasn't received attention in like a minute or something, it just assumes that you don't want it open. So it just freezes it. And then when you come back, it's gone. It's a blank page with their little Great Suspend, and then it brings it back to life. And I've deployed that because I know it's out of hand. Anyway, here we go. Right.
I use Firefox because Chrome is more or less more resource hungry, I feel. And I don't need Google to know everything. It's enough if they knew almost everything. So
Chris says he uses One Tab. Okay for when it crashes. Do you know what? I should just click the button on all of my 150 tabs and then just save that away somewhere, right? And then I know what, and I'll never look at it again, and I will never care that they've all gone away, not even one time. But I just
because you don't know what you lost.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's exactly it. You've got to have the thing which might have been useful at some point. Aurora. Oh, is that the Firefox build? Is that a Firefox? Aurora, what's that? Is that Chrome?
Yep.
Is it a Chrome? Is it like a dev channel version of Chrome? Chris, you're just way ahead of us all. What is Aurora? It rings a bell, but I can't say that I've used it recently. Anyway, so that was quite nice. Quite like that. Now, this one, man alive. Look at those. I mean, I don't know if this is fake or not. I just can't decide, but it's on Mac Rumors, right? They're totally legit. those glasses, they look like those. I mean, just what is the difference, right? None. Except these cost a tiny amount of money and they've got glass in them. This is Apple glass. Now, I can't even see from that picture. Let's see if we can zoom in a bit. I can't distinguish anything about those which looks weird. And yet, apparently, they do what Google Glass did. And you can use, it's got like a LiDAR sensor in there, and you can do like gestures in front of your lenses. And it will, I don't know what those gestures are. It just doesn't go into that level of, yeah. Close down. Yeah, go to sleep. But it might be, anyway, you can print on both lenses, apparently. I don't know which part of the lens, whether it's top left, top right, or it can consume the whole of the lens. But man alive, if this is what Apple have managed to achieve, and if it does what it claims to be doing, I think they've nailed it. Everybody's going to want these. I'm going to throw these in the bin as soon as that comes out and get those, because I want to crash my car whilst reading emails.
No, they won't allow that because they have for sure a car mode. AirPlay.
Oh, Chris says, I can't see a lightning port. You're right. It's got to be USB 3. No, where do you plug it in? Presumably it's like wireless charging. But, you know, the Google Glass version, go back like 18 months. No, sorry, more like 3 years, isn't it? 4 years. The Google Glass version with its clunky dice-sized piece of glass floating in the corner there looked like something that would never take off. This, though, would you buy those?
I mean, you need a thing like that, but imagine someone who isn't used to wearing glasses. I mean, it's still a different story. I mean, for me, why not?
Yeah, Anchen, would you even consider like a wearable thing? I've never seen you in glasses, so I presume you don't wear them. Oh, okay. That was the perfect riposte.
I don't know. So I'd like the idea that my kids won't know that I'm on a device, because I get a lot of slack because I'm always, on a device. I've got my watch all the time or whatever. So I like the idea that they might not know.
Do you know how they're going to know? They're going to know that you're on a device because your eyes will be darting all over the place.
Like they say, I always do in any case. They say, you never listen. Your eyes are always like this, because I'm not listening. Yeah. I don't know.
But that'll be interesting though, right? Probably. Imagine though that you're having a chat with somebody and they're wearing these glasses, and presumably these glasses at some point in the future, they won't just look like that, black and shaped in that way. Presumably Apple will deploy all sorts of variations because, that's what you do, right? Not everybody wants to one size fits all. But imagine that you were talking to somebody and you got the impression that they were wearing glasses that had this capability in them, and you sort of got the impression that they were not really concentrating on you. That raises all sorts of interesting social problems, doesn't it? Like, man alive, would you stop looking at your phone while I'm talking to you? Simply becomes, will you stop looking at me while I'm talking to you? Just if you're going to answer your emails, just go and do it in a chair where I'm not. Don't pretend to be talking to me. So I can see this being really interesting. Also,
like being on a call, like being on like this, and then be on this as well. And
but also your kids. Your kids would have them. And then you'd never know if they were watching movies.
No, they won't have them.
I'm sure you will have like this full blocked kind of view. I imagine it's more like those augmented reality stuff Apple is working on. I think they are working on something like that, because all those augmented reality starts to make sense once you can have it in front of your eyes, like a heads-up display. The question is how many information you will be able to see and display. If it's really a good idea to have to read, I don't know, how does it work, and if it works really well.
So
I imagine
Go on.
It's more
Sorry.
like in the interface for telephone, to go through lists, to call somebody, I don't know, to get important information, get their directions.
It feels to me like I can't see. I can't see. What an ironic thing to say. I just can't see how something that close to my eye, what is it? It's less than a centimeter. Maybe a centimeter. How something that close to my eye could I focus upon it? Because
it's projected, so it feels not like it's in front of you. I like it feels somewhere more far away from you. So
okay, all right. That's some kind of crazy voodoo. I'm not ready for this.
Yeah, you can call it like that.
I'm not ready for this technology. Somebody that is ready though is Chris. Chris says he'll buy anything that Apple produces, says typing on an Apple keyboard. Yeah, I got one of those as well, Chris. I got suckered into the highly expensive aluminium keyboard that is like 10 times the cost of one with a wire. Yeah, he's got an even look, I've got keyboard envy now. Mine's only this wide.
No. So I have a trackpad and
Look at that though, clever. Yeah, imagine you'd have to. Oh, you've got the trackpad as well, man alive. Imagine though, in exams, they're full-on cheating. Wow, you'll never be able to go on. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
I have a prescription for them.
Yeah, well, these glasses, that was the first thing. You can get them in a prescription. Look at this one. Glasses will start at $499 with prescription lenses and an extra cost. And presumably, you'll be able to buy them from an optician, a regular optician, because it's, in the same way that you can buy a phone from just a phone store. You don't need the optician to be involved in the purchase of the actual frames themselves. Anyway, I just thought that was fascinating. Anything else that jumps out? Yeah, very last one. I'll do two. One quickly is this one. If you're selling stuff, Facebook now has shops. So that's the end of Shopify. That's the end of WooCommerce. Let's just say that. Who wouldn't put stuff on Facebook if you had a catalog to sell? Because that's where everybody's at, right? And lastly, but by no means least, so far out of the remit of technology, but I thought this was fascinating. A cave in where am I going to say? I want to say France, but it might not be. Oh yeah, French cave. 176,000-year-old structures. I don't know what I think of this pop-up. I'm just going to say sounds good. Look at this. Where's it? Come on, please load. Look at that. 176,000 years ago, Neanderthals basically broke off a ton of stalagmites and stalactites and arranged them in a great big circle. And then for reasons unknown, the cave got totally blocked off. So it's been undisturbed by any kind of creature. There's no bat guano lying around on the floor or anything until this bloke discovered it fairly recently. 176,000 years. And according to the article, it takes our understanding. Prior to this, we thought that nothing like this was possible until like 4 times sooner than that. So now you know what people were doing 176,000 years ago. They weren't doing Facebook. They didn't have glasses with LiDAR detection. No, they were arranging stalagmites and stalactites in circles.
No, they had magic and druids.
Oh, there you go. That's a fun way to end it. Thank you. Thanks for joining us again. Really appreciate it. What are you up to this week, Anchen?
What's happening this week? Oh, I've got a do action. Those do action, but it's only
the
next week.
hackathon thing.
It's like so it's but this is the first year we're going to actually do it online. So it's going to be, usually it's a day and it's a in-person event and everyone comes together and there's groups working on these sites, but this is going to be a week long and it's going to be over Zoom and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. I'm the project manager, so this week I'll just get everything ready because it's next week. So,
nice. That is really nice. Oh, well, I hope that goes swimmingly. Bernhard, what about you? Obviously attending some kind of wedding of some kind.
No, it was the official part was today. The big event will be next year because, you know, of all Corona related stuff. So we just went out the groom and the bride and me and somebody else to how do we call it? The
best
to
man?
sign the best man, like, yeah, to sign. And yeah, we had a little dinner at home. And the rest will be next year. But I'm staying the rest of the week here because she's the lady who makes all my graphic stuff and all the designs part-time. And so we have always a lot of catch-up to play. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I hope
Since he decided to move to a different city far from Vienna.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like things are a lot nicer in Austria at the minute. Anyway, the ability to move about is really nice. Both Anchen and I are remaining indoors, and even though it's getting colder where she lives, it's getting warmer where we live. It's always about the house at the minute. Stay indoors, stay safe. Thank you so much for joining us. If you two wouldn't mind just sticking around for half a second or so, I'm going to put the slide up. Thank you for those people who made comments, most notably Chris, who was just like stellar. Nathan's history hour, the best bit of WP. Should do a history podcast.
That's the reason why I smiled so much, because I read it just as you asked me. And what? No.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to put the slide up, and I'll say thanks for watching. See you next week. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Bye, Anchen. Bye, Bernhard.
Mhm.